All right, guys, so I bet you're wondering, where am I at? Where did I take you to? Well, this would be the church that I started pastoring about a year ago. And this is really the reason why I haven't been putting out a lot of content, that and, family time. I'm just trying to juggle all three of them together. And this is important. Doing God's work in my eyes is the most important thing that you can do, and I hope y'all understand that. But I understand that, I could not only be helping people here at this church, but I can be helping people on YouTube and social media as well. I got a TikTok that I've used, for a few years now, and when I first started doing it, it just wasn't about Jesus at all, and now I've started incorporating Jesus into it. And some people say, well, when it comes down to it, you're not going to have any success in that, and I'd like to, to say that they're, wrong. The success that I see in my eyes is not from money or fame. I don't care about any of that. My biggest goal, and even when I wasn't, portraying, to be the best Christian when I first started my TikTok, my goal was just to make people laugh and, make funny videos. And I liked when people comment and they liked. And don't get me wrong, all that's good. But when it comes down to it, it's just not important. As you all know, I have changed the name of the YouTube channel. It's no longer Cornbread and Crap Boxes. And when I first come up with that name, I was trying to lighten down basically the normal name. It's not really Crap Box, but it's Box. But just basically making it PG-13 for everybody. And, it worked for a while, but then the good Lord started dealing with me on, before I even got this church, I was supposed to start a social media ministry anyway, and it was supposed to be called John 16:33 Testimonies. Now, if you don't know what John chapter 16, verse 33 says, this is what it says. These things I have spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace. In the world ye shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. And the whole part about this church, the name that we picked for it, which was 1633 Revival Center, has a lot of importance, based back on to when I was supposed to start my social media journey, just sharing the gospel. So basically, being overcomers. And we all face all kinds of things. We have afflictions. Other people I see every day, whether it be something to do with the sickness on their body, or just, man, if they're going through something, or if they've been, facing devastation, there's a much greater need than, just me making car content. So I figured in my mind, I was like, well, I could create a new channel, but then I was like, I already have this one. And it's basically the same thing that I'm doing with my TikTok, just revitalizing and revamping it. And yeah, you'll be able to go on there and see the videos that I made prior. But at the same time, that's going to be a testimony to God of how much I've changed. I just had turned 29 this year, so I'm creeping up on my 30th year, if you know what I mean. And I'm getting older, and I believe the good Lord's making me wiser. I don't know. Actually, I know He is. No, I couldn't make myself wiser. Only He could do that. So the thing that I want to leave to other people is the light that I shined and how I lived my life. My goal, is, to still make you laugh. To still have a good time. Is the car content going away? No. It's just we're going to be adding in more Jesus into it. Not religion, but relationship. Stuff that, will dig into the marrow of your bones and, will stick to you like molasses. And there might be some of you on here that just don't agree with that. And if you go, hey, I understand, but this is the way the channel's got to go, and I hope you don't go, because maybe you might figure out exactly who Jesus is and what he wants for your life. My plan is to make car content and start filming the small things, because I feel like that I'm only filming the big things and I'm running out of ideas, and I feel like it was all part of God's plan to introduce this new segment that I'm going to call Overhauled. So basically, what is the Overhauled segment? What is it going to be about? Well, I'm going to be bringing real people in here to tell their real testimonies of how Jesus changed their life and basically overhauled them. The way that I think of, overhauling something is basically taking a worn-out motor and then stripping it all down, getting rid of all the stuff that's basically not supposed to be on there, the old grease, the oil that's just been sitting on there from leaky gaskets, all the old worn out parts, and basically rebuilding it into this new thing, and maybe adding some power adders and some more things to make it even better. Well, that's basically what Jesus does for our life. When we come to him, we come to him worn out, tired, tired of basically everything that we've been dealing with by ourselves, not having nobody to really, set us free from what we're bound with. Because the only one that can set us free is Jesus. And Jesus came to set the captives free. He came to break those chains of bondage. Amen? And then transforming their lives from who they was into who they're going to be, cleaning them up and, making them wiser. And once they get in their word and they start reading, and next thing you know, a person that was once sitting on the back pew is now up at the front of the church preaching the gospel. But that's just how Jesus is. He takes the worst of the worst and makes the best of the best. Amen? And I look at myself and how God made me, and I wonder why do I like taking old beat-up vehicles that was sitting in their grave, getting ready to go to the junkyard that was probably, their next destination, either that or rotting in the ground, but I take them because I see potential in them, and I get them running again, bring them back to life, and getting them running back to their full potential and working on them a step at a time, And once that was something that was meant for dead has now been brought back to life. Amen? And that's what Jesus can do. And basically, that's what the Overhauled segment's going to be about. Going to be bringing people in here, tell their real-life testimonies, tell, about what Jesus did for their life, and share it with you all and whoever else, gets to see it. And I know God will bless it, and I know it'll grow. And there might be a few people along the way that just don't want to hear it. And if they don't want to hear it, that's fine. I'll pray for you. I still love you. I still want you to watch. There's still going to be car content. It's just that I'm going to start incorporating, more Jesus into the mixture, because that's what's important. And God's been dealing, with me on that for a pretty good while. Not only that, if the person that I bring, has a vehicle that they want to show off, then we get to see it at the end of the segment, maybe take a ride in it up and down the road, and they can talk about, all the hard work and all the love that they've put into that. Or it could just be something that they daily drive that's just been a good vehicle. It's still going to be car related. It's just going to be, Jesus and car related. And like I said, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but I did change the name. So it's no longer going to be Cornbread and Crap Boxes. That's right. But it's going to be Cornbread's Gospel Garage. And if you're a new watcher and you want to know what Cornbread's Gospel Garage is about, just go on my description on the YouTube channel and it'll tell you everything that you need to know about what this channel is going to be about. I know there's a lot of people in the car community that are Christians, and there's some that aren't. And hopefully we can win those some that aren't. Amen? And I know for a lot of YouTubers, especially some of the bigger ones, they might be Christian. I don't know. Some of the ones that I watch, I can kind of tell if they are or kind of not. It's not like they really go out and profess it, because sometimes they can be scared of professing anything like that because they might lose followers. And I'm not going to be one that's going to be worried about that. If it happens, it happens. I don't want it to happen, but if it does, that's fine, because for the one that's lost, there'll always be one to support, or maybe even more. Amen. And I know that if you stick along with this journey of Cornbread's Gospel Garage, and maybe, just maybe, if you ain't saved and you ain't give your life to Jesus, then you can stick around here and hear what old Cornbread's got to say, just from an old country boy that don't know a lot but just knows about his Jesus. And no, I don't know everything. There's a lot of stuff that I still got to learn, but hey, I'm learning. And that's the whole part about being a Christian. You don't have to have all the answers. You ain't got to know everything. You just got to have faith. Amen? You got to have faith in Him and just know that He's leading your life in the right direction. But anyways, guys, I love you. I appreciate y'all watching this video. I hope and pray that you stick around and you get to see what this channel is going to grow into. Amen? This channel's not about me. It's about uplifting Him. And it's about feeding into y'all. Amen? We're a family. And I want y'all to stick around for this. I love each and every one of you. Appreciate y'all watching. And we'll see y'all fellers later.